Welcome to Lighten Up TV, enlightening, inspiring, and empowering humanity. This is a journey of self-discovery. On this journey, we are in search of answers to the burning questions that have intrigued mankind for millennia. Who are we? Where did we come from? Why are we here? And where are we going? By merging scientific discoveries with spiritual revelations, we will explore the possibility that mind and matter are one and the same in a vibratory field of pure consciousness. What if this eternally expanding field of consciousness is of and from the same source? These revelations that we may actually share one mind in a unified field that expands into the cosmos has the potential to cause a powerful shift in the collective consciousness. On our fascinating journey, we will explore ancient legends, modern discoveries, and emerging truths about the spiraling creative forces that spun this creation into being. From spirituality to religion, superstring theory to the Big Bang, from gods and goddesses to angels and aliens, we will dive into the mysteries of creation. Are you ready to lighten up?
Starring your host, Suzanne Ross, television personality and producer, inspirational author and speaker. She is a 5D truth seeker and spiritual pioneer on the front lines, raising the frequency of humanity. Through her shows, books, and events, she has dedicated her life to activating the matrix for global ascension.
Lighten Up TV proudly presents author, researcher, and explorer, Michael Tellinger. Let's just take a deep breath after that.
Oh, no,
Get grounded.
It energizes me to talk about
good.
that.
You're jacked up now. Okay. Get you all jacked up before the interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gets me excited.
Right on.
It's like a challenge, you know?
For sure. I love it. Okay. Hello and welcome to Lighten Up. I am your host, Suzanne Ross, and it is such an honor and privilege to be here with Michael Tellinger. Welcome,
Hello,
Michael.
Susanna. Nice to see you.
Oh, nice to see you too. Of course, Michael is a speaker here at this incredible event. I am a huge fan. I love your book, Slave Species of the Gods, and have gone through every page of that book. Look, I have goosebumps talking about it. So remarkable. And I, of course, was present for your presentation yesterday. Also very fascinating. What would you like to share with our audience today?
I think the first thing I'd like to add is this journey is a journey of discovery, a continuous discovery. And one needs to keep continuously an open mind. And one of the anecdotes I share from a good friend of mine that's passed on now, used to say, having an open mind is like being pregnant. You can't be half pregnant. So whenever you start talking to somebody, you say, well, look, you need an open mind for this. And people say, well, I have an open mind, but. I go, okay, our conversation has just ended. You can't say, I have an open mind, and then follow it by but. That means you don't have an open mind and you're half pregnant, and that's an impossibility. So.
Yes, I think Frank Zappa said that you have to have an open mind. It's like a parachute.
Yes.
If it's only half open, you're going to crash land, right?
Exactly, yeah. And the reason I say this is because many of the things that I held dear 10 years ago are now busted, and I had to come to terms with the fact that I had insufficient information or the wrong information, and I had to find new information to formulate new ideas, new philosophies, and new belief system that I now hold. And that might change tomorrow by discovering something new, and that'll shift my perception and the way I see things. And so it's a continuous journey of discovery and rediscovery, and that's what I believe keeps it so exciting.
Absolutely, and that is the trait that you need if you're going to be a truth seeker, is the willingness to explore, come out with it, reveal it, but be flexible when new information comes in. And I just love how we're moving past these dogmatic beliefs that keep us trapped in these certain beliefs, you know.
Yeah.
I love the opportunity to continue to explore as new things come in.
Yeah. You know, as long as people believe in what I say, that's great. I don't care. You better just believe in what I say, otherwise, you know, you're an asshole.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this DNA issue, my dear.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened with our DNA back in the day.
Well, that's a question that keeps shifting and changing, because all we know that our DNA is messed with, and to what extent it's messed with remains an open-ended question at this stage, and that's part of the journey of discovery. I have certain beliefs based on the information that I have, and that keeps changing all the time.
Yeah.
Especially like, what capacity does our DNA contain? How much DNA do we really have? What is DNA? Is DNA complete when it's a double-stranded DNA? Is it complete when it's a 3-stranded DNA? Is it complete when it's a 12-stranded DNA? There's so much interesting research going on out there, and I've just recently started figuring out that there's a very interesting possibility that this 12-stranded DNA has something to it. I'm not saying that that's what it is, but a lot of the, for example, crop circles suggest that a 12-stranded DNA is a more complete molecule, or a more complete aspect or thing of the DNA, whatever you want to call it. And then you start thinking, well, if we've got only 2 strands of DNA, where are the other 10 strands of DNA are we supposed to have? And that brings up a very interesting question. Is it already in us? Is it just we haven't discovered it? Or do we have to get it from an external source somewhere? And what it seems to be now is that we've got the other 10 strands of DNA in us already. It's in our cells, in our nuclei of our cells. It's just invisible because it's not necessarily in the dimension that we can detect and recognize.
Exactly.
So
love that answer. That is what was shown to me actually in a vision, is that the only reason we don't have these other strands activated is because they're in other dimensional aspects of who we are.
Yeah.
So when we tap into that, we can activate them.
And again, the downloads and the information that I get, either from scientific research or cosmic downloads, and as you know, we get these ideas, and suddenly you have an idea or a thought. So where did that come from? Well, it comes from the cosmic pool of information. Our ideas are not our own, our thoughts are not our own. We tap into the existing pool of Akashic records, or whatever you want to call it, the morphogenetic field. People call it all kinds of things, of infinite knowledge and information, of source code creation, and suddenly this download comes, and just recently, in fact, when I was on my January research expedition with this amazing team of people that came to me for a month and stayed with me for a month in South Africa at my place at Stone Circle, where we were doing the Stone Circle research and found the fossils and so forth, and we were driving one day and talking in the car about DNA and the double-stranded and the 12-stranded DNA, what happened to it, and suddenly just had this download saying, whoa, hold on, we have monoatomic elements floating around in our body, and the whole thing with the Anunnaki and this quest for gold and monoatomic gold and all that, and I suddenly realized we are filled with monoatomic elements like plants and other things around us, and we can't detect monoatomic elements at the moment. We don't have the technology to detect it. We can only detect it when it materializes in the diatomic stage, or a frequency that our technology can pick up. And this is why the monoatomic gold remains a huge quest for us to find out what the hell we're actually dealing with here. And I realized, hold on, so that maybe the rest of the 10 strands of DNA is in the nuclei alongside the other 2 strands that are manifested, but the other 10 strands are actually driven and connected to the monoatomic elements that are invisible to us, but it's there. So, and it's the gold. It's the monoatomic gold that is connected to the other 10 strands of DNA in the nuclei of our body, of the cells of our body.
Okay. Following you.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
So would monoatomic be considered other dimensional?
Yes, monoatomic elements and monoatomic gold moves into other dimensions. And again, we have to thank David Hudson for this. David Hudson is the guy that shared this knowledge with us many years ago already, from Phoenix, Arizona, that started doing the experiments. And I had the fortune of spending a whole week with David when he was in South Africa at my conference in 2011. And he shared a lot of information from when he was doing the research with MIT and some of the research they got in the lab. When they had a little pile of white powder in the tube of inert gas, and this is one of the few times that commoners like us or David probably would ever see monoatomic gold. What the CIA research labs are doing is a whole other story. They know exactly what's going on, but ordinary people like us would probably be very fortunate to see this kind of thing, where you got this pile of white powder, fluffy white powder, that is devoid of gravity. It does not react with anything. It's completely inert. It doesn't conduct current. It doesn't do anything. But David said when he put his hand underneath it, the whole pile lifted up. So it reacted to the energy from his hand. And the other thing that happened is when they expose it to certain temperatures, a rise in temperature, which is just a frequency, and because in the inert gas the temperature doesn't really work because it's a vacuum. Really, it's a vacuum tube with this inert gas in it, sparse inert gas. So what happened is at 700 degrees Celsius the pile of white powder started to disappear, and by 800 degrees Celsius it was gone. So it went to a different dimension. Okay, so at a certain frequency,
yes,
a certain frequency, the powder or monoatomic elements disappear from our dimension and they move somewhere else. So they thought that maybe it just became invisible, but so they had a little brush there. So they brushed a little pan to try and disturb it, and when they started reducing the temperature again, the frequency again, the pile of white powder started to reappear exactly where it was. So it didn't become invisible, it disappeared into a different dimension. So what that tells us is that monoatomic elements have the capacity to move between dimensions at specific frequencies. So we might have DNA in the nuclei of our body operating at different frequencies, different dimensions, because they're made of monoatomic elements and we can't detect them.
Certainly.
So when we get to a specific frequency, when our bodies resonate at specific frequencies, we'll reactivate those 10 strands of DNA and hopefully remerge them with the other 2 that are now seeming to do something with us.
Yes, that's it.
So, and that reactivation of those 10 invisible strands of DNA is all to do with high consciousness, high vibration, higher frequencies that one could equate to elevating the temperature.
Yes. More incentive to raise our frequency, folks. With higher consciousness. And enlightenment certainly is an important part of that. And when I say that, I mean this advanced knowledge that is coming out. It really raises our awareness. I think it elevates our consciousness. Certainly the spiritual practices and all of that are an important part too. But I do believe that this information is very enlightening and helps us to understand, and then we can tune in.
Yeah. And let's not understand, let's comprehend. Let's not stand under someone's authority.
Let's not understand. Yes, I like comprehend better too. Thank you.
Again, these are all the things, we do it all the time. We use the language that keeps enslaving ourselves. We keep understanding things, which
yes.
It's just insane how we've been enslaved on every possible level.
Oh my gosh, this is so transcendent because enslavement is disempowering, and this revelation is so empowering. All we need to do to break free is to raise our consciousness, and then we can activate those dormant DNA and become the superhuman beings that we have the potential to. So thank you so much for that perspective.
Well, I'm just thinking about the word comprehend. Maybe that's not good either. Maybe we become compliant with something that was predetermined for us. So I don't know if that's the right word either. Maybe it's resonate. Maybe we have to resonate
is a great
with
word.
something
rather
than understand or comprehend. Again,
we have to resonate with it. Yes.
Let's keep our minds open, right?
Yes, let's keep our minds wide open and our hearts.
Yes.
Our hearts and minds wide open. Stay tuned for part 2 of my fascinating discussion with Michael Tellinger.